Guys, I feel like I'm finally starting to find my footing with this podcast in a way that's allowing me to see that God is everywhere in everything. I'm realizing I don't have to give a scripture in every episode or sit and brood over the things that have changed us and shaped us over time. All the facets of me can be here and they can all excel. And I hope you see that in whatever you're creating too. You may want to be professional, polished, intentional, but you don't have to be labeled as one singular thing. We believe and we know that I love God. I am surely a Christian. And when I have the opportunity to sing of his praises, I do. But when I'm simply being human, I hope you can still see his light on me. None of us have to perform for God. We just have to stay mindful, open, and willing to be shaped. Last week, we sat with our Father, the one who brings streams into the wilderness, the God who resets your mind, restores your hope, and reminds you that dry places don't mean barren. But once the mind is renewed, we're set on a new beginning. The wilderness isn't just a steamed vapor bath. It's a reforming. It teaches you how to endure, but it also shows you what you can carry and how to hold purpose when the journey feels overbearing. Today, I want to step into that next layer, the part where we see that purpose isn't only about movement, it's about constructing the weight of glory behind your passion projects. It's about asking, where is your authenticity rooted in what you're creating? How do you weave parts of yourself into your purpose so it stays clear, but also open for growth, especially when you might be your own worst critic? I have realized that when you start something and box yourself in, it becomes so difficult to see your way out. It becomes harder to align with your true desires because now you have to deconstruct something that was built one way just to make room for the way it was always meant to be perceived and hopefully received. Second Corinthians 4:17 tells us that what feels like pressure, the pressure to show up as yourself, to share your raw story, is actually forming a capacity in you, a capacity to be celebrated for standing in your truth. This scripture reminds us that choosing truth isn't always comfortable, but it is purposeful. When you stand in your truth, you may face misunderstanding, resistance, or seasons that feel heavy. So this is an opportunity to reframe that experience and understand that those pressures are light and momentary, not because they don't matter, but because they are working something eternal in you. What feels like mixed media, scattered niches, or no set plan is actually part of your development. Heaven measures what we see here on earth differently. Paul isn't minimizing pain in this scripture. He's reframing it. He's reminding us that what feels heavy to us is light to the Spirit, because the Spirit sees far more than we can comprehend. Your truth may feel costly now, but it carries eternal significance. I truly believe that in my experience of trying to do this and find my footing, there was a part of me in the beginning that was performing, even though what I was saying was true to my belief and true to wanting to strive and excel in my purpose. I was performing in a way that didn't allow my personality to come through. And now I feel like as I'm finding a comfort level with laying out this content and producing it in a way that feels true to me, that my purpose is shifting in a way that allows me to see my purpose lens clearly. Purpose shifts when you stop treating it like a performance and start treating it like a place you live from. After your mind is renewed in the wilderness, you begin to see that purpose isn't just about what you produce. It's about what you carry, what you're willing to grow into, and how, honestly, you're willing to show up. This is the part of the journey where you realize that purpose doesn't demand perfection. It demands your presence. It asks you to bring the parts of yourself you've been hiding, the parts you've been editing out, the parts you thought were too much or not enough. Because the truth is, your purpose can't breathe if you're suffocating your authenticity. And maybe that's what this season is revealing. That this version of purpose you started with was too small for who you're rising into. That the box you built for yourself can't hold the fullness of your voice. The pressure you feel isn't about failing, it's about expanding. It's about making room for the layers of you that God always intended to be a part of your calling. Even psychologically, endurance seasons build resilience. They stretch your capacity to hold tension without collapsing under it. They teach your mind and your spirit how to stay grounded under weight. And spiritually, scripture tells us the same thing. Your affliction is building something in you, not only for you, but for others who will feel validated by your honesty and your experience. Hardship isn't always about suffering. Sometimes it's simply the tension of trying to figure out who you want to show up as. Understand that the only constant in life is change. So you recognizing that this is where everything shifts allows you to stop seeing tension as a sign that something is wrong and start seeing it as an investment towards what you're building. When you start interpreting your pressure, your uncertainty, or your longing for something more as confirmation instead of confusion, the season you're in begins to transform. It becomes a workshop for your rising, the quiet strengthening that lifts you into who you're called to be. Purpose grows when you do. Purpose deepens when you stop shrinking. Stand tall, be bold. Your purpose becomes clearer when you stop trying to be one thing and allow yourself to rise into who you are meant to be. This is where purpose stops being a task and becomes a posture, a way of showing up, a way of letting God shape you while you shape the work He's entrusted to you. And when you start to see your purpose this way, not as a box you have to fit into, but as a space you're growing into, you also start to notice the tension that comes with it, the uncertainty, the stretching, the internal questions about who you're becoming and how you want to show up. That tension isn't random. It's not a sign that you're off track. It's the psychological side of purpose, the part where your mind is learning how to hold more than it used to, and your identity is adjusting to the weight of what you're building. In the beginning, I had to tell myself there was no such thing as perfect. That if I don't start now, I'll never start. That if I allow myself to not post or release the information that I'm recording, it'll be just a block. It'll be a hindrance to my growth and to other people's growth. And I could be honest, my first few episodes are absolute trash. The editing is bad. The cutting up and botching is bad. Even my flow of trying to play music in there and turn it off, my intro, I'm literally finding who I am. I'm finding what works for me in this space. But that part, I feel like until I get to probably episode 50, those episodes will not be deleted simply because some people need to see the raw and real version of what it looks like to grow something. There's a lot of people edit and delete the beginning stages of what they've done to look polished, and the polished version of you is not necessarily the truth. So we have to understand this is where hardship becomes more than circumstance. It becomes information. I needed those struggles and I needed that uncertainty and that confusion to allow me to build a portfolio of information that could help me create something better with more structure and a better belief system in myself. It became insight for me. It becomes the mirror that shows you what's being strengthened inside of you. Even psychologically, endurance seasons build resistance. They stretch your capacity to hold tension without collapsing under it. They teach your mind and your spirit how to stay grounded under weight. They show you that you can feel pressure without losing yourself, and that you can feel uncertainty without abandoning your path. And spiritually, scripture tells us the same thing. Your affliction is building something in you, not just for you, but for the people who will one day feel seen, validated, and understood because you chose to tell the truth about your process. Sometimes the hardship isn't dramatic or devastating. Sometimes it's simply the quiet ache of trying to figure out who you want to show up as, the discomfort of rising into a version of yourself you've never seen before. This is an essence of your becoming. It is okay to find avenues of who you are as you are trying to become. But once you get set on who you are, how you want to show up, you have to make sure that your true self is somewhere shining through that. When you start interpreting your pressure, your uncertainty, or your longing for something more as confirmation instead of confusion, the season you're in begins to transform. It becomes a classroom for your becoming, a place where something eternal is being produced within you. This is the part of the journey where God begins shaping the inner life, the part no one sees but everyone eventually feels. Formation doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to be this thing that is screaming out at you. It isn't always an emotional journey. Sometimes it's the quiet strengthening of your character when nothing around you is changing. It's the deepening of your faith when you don't have the answers you want. Or it can be the stretching of your obedience when you'd rather retreat. Lord knows, really showing who I am, trying to find a decent structure that navigates how I want to show up in the world, because certain things that you put out into the world, they are forever. And it may not be forever because you don't want it to be. It may just be a forever thing because it affirms something in someone else. Pressure reveals who you are when the pace slows down. It clarifies what you believe when comfort is stripped away. It shows you the difference between what you thought you needed and what God is actually building in you. And it deepens your vision beyond the moment you're standing in. This is the weight of glory being formed in you, slowly, quietly, intentionally, not to overwhelm you, but to prepare you. This isn't an opportunity to break you. This is where your anchor is rooted. Not to expose you, but to expand you. Formation is God trusting you with more than what you thought you could hold. Let this be the week that we pay attention to how we're carrying what we're walking through. Not with resentment, but with true awareness. No longer dread your process, but lead with expectation, not as a reflection of failure, but as preparation. Ask yourself, what is this season strengthening in me? What is this pressure producing? What capacity is God building? Where am I being stretched so I can evolve into the version of myself I've been praying for? I want that awareness to shift the way you show up, soften where you've been tense, and ground you where you've been anxious. Let it remind you that nothing in your life is wasted, not even the parts you don't fully understand yet. As you move forward, hold this truth close. It's in the honesty of reframing our mind, we have to realize that sometimes we look at things that are happening, that are reshaping us, that are carving us and planting us as negative things. We'll think that we're being crushed, that our plans to prosper are being buried. But I want you to understand the weight you feel right now is preparing you for the glory you're called to carry. Walk with that confidence. Walk with that awareness. Walk knowing that God is forming something eternal in you, something that will outlive this moment, this season, and even your own understanding of yourself. Your endurance is not empty. Your rising is not accidental. And your story, it's not wasted. You are being shaped for something greater than you know. Be bold this week. Continue believing and continue showing up. Have a great week, guys.